We want to continue that momentum that we had on Friday. We had a really good performance, really pleased. Obviously, would have liked a couple of more goals, especially early on. But, we kept going, we kept challenging, and managed to get, the goal that we fully deserve. So going into this game, I think, knowing North Carolina, it's always a tough place to go and play. They will be wanting to bounce back from a disappointing result against Utah. Um, it'll be a challenge. Every game is a challenge in this league. You can't take anyone for granted. So we just need to really focus on ourselves, put that performance that we know we are capable of doing, and get the 3 points.
You mentioned how North Carolina has been historically a tough place to play for you guys. What has it been that has made it so challenging to play there?
I think, they've always had a DNA of, really having a focus on possessing the ball, and they always put you in difficult positions. Who stays, who goes, and when you're out of possession. I think last year we had a really good performance, just didn't get the goal. I think we were really aggressive in our press. We were really good in possession, but didn't manage to get the goal. So that gives us a platform to really think we're capable of doing something at their place. But yeah, it's a hostile environment. The fans are really close to you. It's a tight pitch. Even with the new personnel of coaches, they have a set way and identity how they want to play. So it's always had its challenges when we go there.
Kind of mentioned looking back at the last game, chances created, 20 chances in the first half alone. You started the game very well in terms of those creating chances, but now going on the road, how much do you want to try and replicate that, especially playing in North Carolina?
Yeah, we need to pick up on our away form. At home we always talk about making a fortress, make it intimidating for the opponent, and I think at times we haven't had bad performance away from home, but we need to pick up points away from home as well. I don't know the stats for it, but I think sometimes our performances have been quite even with the opponent, but it's been one goal deficit that's kind of left us dry and not walking away with 3 points or even a point. So I think it's taking the opportunities when they present themselves. We focused that a lot this week. We're creating really good opportunities. It might be, that level of composure in front of goal, or that little bit of desire to finish the play. And sometimes you need a bit of luck, which we've been on the wrong side of as well this season. So it's just having the right mindset, going after it, being structured within our build-up shape and also defensive shape, and not giving them any opportunities that they feel like they can capitalize on.
From a coaching standpoint, how do you make sure that mindset shifts from the home form and the confidence that you guys are able to build in terms of chances creation to that away form?
Listen, I think away from home, and I've been in the game long enough, that you're not always going to get as many chances at home that you do away. So when the opponent allows you to have that opportunity, it's about taking it. And sometimes it doesn't register as a start. You can flash a cross against the width of the goal, and if you don't get a touch on it, then it doesn't register as a clear-cut opportunity. So we've spoken a lot about the extra 1-2% of, like, can you get across a player, can you get that touch inside the box, and that's what it may take. It might just take that one moment, and then we always feel like defensively, if we take the lead, we've always got that platform, and it's in our DNA to hold on for dear life. When teams are pushing, and it's all about attitude and what characters are going to step up in that moment. But we know in the past 3 or 4 years, when we take that that 1-0 lead, it's very difficult for another team to get a foothold in the game, and so it'll be no different. Can we get that first goal when we've got good momentum to then see the game out?
You've kind of always talked about focusing on yourselves and the way the team plays. With some of the personnel that you've had, being on minutes restrictions and kind of working their way back into form, how much do you kind of look at their performances in the short periods of time that they've been able to come back and play, and kind of manage the minutes of certain players, especially on the road?
Yeah, it's difficult, no more so than a couple of weeks ago when we had the quick turnaround of playing Friday, then playing Wednesday, and then going on the road to Utah. So players have had to step up. They've had to play different positions as well, just because of where we're at and the minute restrictions, and player safety is a big thing for us. It's a priority that we're not leaving players in vulnerable positions. So the communication between the technical staff and medical staff is really important. What limits can we push to make sure that we're not putting the players at risk? And I think that's been an ongoing conversation. So yeah, it has posed some challenges. We would love a fully healthy team, and making sure that like for like replacements, but that's just not been the case this year for whatever reason. But again, we're not a team that looks for excuses. We always look for solutions, and it's always next player steps up and who can contribute and take that moment. And I think in the last game, Mark does a great job of playing 70 minutes, and then Julie Doyle comes on and scores the winner. So your role will shift in the season. You go from starter to game changer. And if you're not involved, you're a supporter, right? And how do you support your teammates and the people around you? That's equally as important as being a starter. So, yeah, it's just making sure everyone feels valued, everyone knows their role, and then when you get time on the field, it's taking that opportunity.
How do those conversations, just from your last couple of years of being a head coach now, of having those type of conversations of like, okay, you're starting this game, you're going to be on the bench this game, and making sure that throughout the team that it is understood and that they're ready to go when they're called upon?
Yeah, it's a long season. There's a lot of games, so just making sure players are ready when they're called upon. Again, quick turnarounds allows players to get opportunity, and then it's about taking that opportunity when it's presenting itself. Every player wants to play. Every player wants to start. Like if they don't, then they're in the wrong industry. So that comes with it. You have to obviously relate to them, and obviously me being an ex-player, I know how that feels at times. And it can be disappointing and it can be frustrating, but you got to think about the bigger picture as well. I think if we all go through those emotions during the season, it's fine as long as you're lifting a trophy at the end of the year, all is forgotten. So, yeah, it's just making sure everyone is rowing in the right direction, everyone sees the bigger picture, and yeah, it's about taking your opportunity when it presents itself when you're on the field.